Um, so hopefully you've all checked in. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you some hacks, which is converting table to text. We're not going to do that first. I'm going to show you power underlines, right tabs, controlling your space on your resume, alignments, left, center, and right. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about why Word does that. Sometimes you do something and it's like, wait, why did it do that? I'm going to talk about points. You'll see points a lot. Typically, you use 10, 11, or 12 point text. So I'll kind of give you a little bit about that. And I'm going to show you a little secret to fit text on a line. Oops. And then I'm going to also show you the format painter and case control. And those are going to help save you time. These are all things that you're going to use in places other than uh, just doing your resume. You'll come out with some techniques to help you with the resume, but these are tools that you can use on longer papers and other things like that. So I'm going to end this little thing temporarily and go to my demo. Come on. Oops, there we go. Okay, so you should see the bad sample resume on your screen. Do you all see the bad sample resume? If someone would just confirm in the chat or send me a thumbs up or something like that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we can see
Um,
it.
I'm sorry?
We can see it, but it's not full screen.
Oh yeah, it's not full screen. That's okay. I have a big screen, so okay, awesome. Let's get started. So the first thing I note when I look at this is, oh, I'm going to turn this off so that doesn't confuse you because I'm going to show you that next. But you see how this is all black, but this is gray. And what that tells me is that this information is not in the text of the document, it's in the header of the document. Now, typically, I would say this is good information to have in the header because you do want your name and your contact information on every page of your resume. But as college students, most of the time, I'm going to say like 99.9% of the time, you're going to want a one-page resume, which means you don't need that information on a second page. But the most important reason why you don't want this information in a header is that in most cases, when you upload your resume into an applicant tracking system, which is the tool that most employers use to organize their hiring systems, most of the time, the applicant tracking system ignores anything in a header and footer. And so if you upload a resume with your information in the header, that's just not going to be on the document that you upload, which makes it hard to hire you because they won't necessarily have your name and your contact information with your resume. So all I'm going to do is triple click in there. You can also go to view header and that will take you in here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, or actually I'm just going to cut it. And then I'm going to take out this thing that's in the header, and we're going to make the header a 1/2 inch. That's what we want. And I'm going to close the header. And then right here, I'm going to paste that information. And now you see that it's black and it's not in the header anymore. So that's good. Now, the other thing you notice about this, when I highlight a line in there, do you see all that space above the blue highlighting above the text? We want to get rid of that. And I am actually I don't think it's on any other place on this resume, but I'm going to show you the easiest way to get rid of it and just make sure everything is okay is I'm going to go and select all. Now I'm using a Mac. Selecting all on a Word doc or on a Windows computer is going to be a little bit different, but I'm just going to select all. And I'm going to open up this button right here, and that's with the arrow pointing up and down. And if you hover over it, you can see that it says line and paragraph spacing. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on remove space before paragraph. And now everything is good. I think we've got it all set. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these lines. These are graphical lines. Sometimes the graphical lines um, can confuse the applicant tracking system. They don't like graphics. So I'm going to take out all these lines. Uh, just take them out. Yeah, one more. Okay, so this is the last line. Okay, so now let's go back up to the top. Now, I see that John Smith has his street address on there. Having the street address on your resume is a holdover from when we used to mail resumes. And we haven't mailed resumes for about 20, 25 years now. So you don't have to have that. And that also means that you don't have to have your zip code. Just Washington, D.C. If you're looking for jobs in Washington, D.C., you want to do that. If you're looking for jobs in your hometown, you want to change that to your hometown. So you might have different resumes during the school year and the summer. If you're going to stay home in your hometown for the summer, you might want to have a resume with your hometown address. Now, there is a key right under your backspace key or your delete key. And it looks like there's a line that looks like this and a line that looks like that. We're going to use that key. And the way we're going to use it is I'm going to hold the shift key down, which gives me the straight line, and I'm just going to type it. And I didn't want to hit the return, but then I'm also going to put a space after it like that. And we don't need to tell an employer that this is a phone number. The fact that it's 7 numbers in that format basically tells them it's a phone number. So I'm just going to backspace that. And so it comes on the same line. And I'm going to do the same with email. I'm going to backspace that and put it on that same line. And this time I'm going to do space, the separator line, and space. Yeah, John Smith is a little small. All of this text is 11 points. 11 points is a good starting place for your resume. You can go as small as 10 points, but you shouldn't go any smaller than that. And you should use one of these fonts that are right at the top. So the best ones to use are Calibri, Cambria, Times New Roman, Garamond, and Arial. Those are basic fonts that almost everyone has on their computer, and it's kind of important that you choose one that everyone has on their computer. So this one is Arial, it's fine. We just want to make this bigger. So I'm going to make it 18 points, which is a good point to have it at. Okay. Now, all of this is in bold. I don't want all of this in bold. Some of it we're going to put in bold, but right now I'm going to take it off bold. So I'm just going to highlight everything and take them off bold. But I do want the name in bold. Okay, now 2 things I want to point out with this first thing, the objective. Objectives are not used on resumes anymore. Again, this is a holdover from when we used to mail them. So we really don't want an objective. And the other thing I want to show you here is this first line. This line, and if I go up and select this line, you see up here on my ribbon that it's chosen this last tool here for whether it's left align, center align, right align. This is called justify. You don't want to use justify on a resume. And the reason is, and you'll see how this works when I click on it, the way that justify works is it makes it so your right margin and your left margin are all nice and even. And that is really good when you're reading a newspaper and everything's in a small column. It makes it a little bit easier to read, but it actually slows your reader down. When an actual person is looking at your resume, they spend about 8 seconds looking at it on the first pass. So you really don't want to slow them down. And the reason it slows them down is it spreads the words out and it when it does that, it makes the space between the words much bigger. And the reason that doesn't work is that it actually slows your reader down. So you always want to choose left align for your resume. But given that, we're just going to take this out. So the very first section on your resume is your education section. And uh, it's it's you can have a summary at the top, which is not an objective. It's sort of a short, pithy description of what tools you bring to an employer. Employers either love them or hate them. We find that they don't really fit on a one-page resume very easily if you have very much uh, experience. So you can leave them off or you can put it on. It's up to you. I generally have people leave them off. Okay. This thing right here is a header, and you have this header education, you have this header for experience, you have a header for skills, and a header for activities on this particular resume. You do want the headers to be all caps. That is what the computer is expecting to look for. So I have a super easy way to fix that. You don't have to retype it holding your caps lock key. You can just highlight the word education. You can go up here to this key right here, which has both a capital A and a small a. You can click on that and you can see that there's a bunch of different things. So you can make everything lowercase or you can capitalize each word. What we want to do is make it uppercase. So there we go. And you want that to be bold. So we're going to stop there. Now, this when we're going to do the education. So it is the George Washington University, and the George Washington University is in Washington, D.C. Now, this particular person is getting a bachelor's in junior journalism and mass communications. You should spell this out, and you can say Bachelor of Arts in journalism and mass communication. If you're getting a Bachelor of Science, you want to put Bachelor of Science. If you're getting both, and I know that there are dual majors who are getting both a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science, list them on two separate lines. So a Bachelor of Arts in this and a Bachelor of Science in something else. You can put minor in international affairs if you have a minor. Then I'm going to tab and I'm going to put in May 2027. 2027. And so you don't need to include this. You don't need to include all of the dates. So you don't need to say August 2025 to May 2027, or you're probably getting it in May 2029 if you're a freshman. So that's all you need. And I'm going to take this off. Now, you'll see that this is taking up more than one line. So one of the things we can do to make sure this fits on one page is we can change the margins. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go to the layout menu. I'm going to click on margins. I'm going to go narrow. And now that is making all of my margins half an inch. You don't want to go any narrower than half an inch. So half an inch margins are the minimum. Okay, so now I'm going to organize these and I'm going to actually do this to the whole document. So I'm going to select all and I'm going to show you a little bit of magic. You want to make sure that your ruler is visible. If you do not see the ruler, you want to go to the view menu and make sure this little box next to the word ruler is checked. And then I'm going to go to the home menu and I am going to click in this little, there's a little box over here. Now, I have a Mac. If you have, and there are different symbols. So if you click in the box, the symbol changes. This is a left tab. And a left tab makes everything align to the left like this. So these are all left tabs. If you are using a Windows computer, it looks like an L. And if I click in the box again, I get a center tab. And a center tab just makes words look like Christmas trees. If you have a center tab and you're on a Windows computer, it looks like an upside down T. And then I'm going to click on it again, and that is a right tab, and that aligns everything to the right. And that's what we're going to use on a Windows computer. It looks like a backwards L. And so with that symbol, this is the right tab in that little box. I'm just going to go over here and I'm just going to click in the ruler, and it's going to drop that little right tab symbol right there. And you see what it did to Washington, D.C. in May 2029. And you see how they're aligned right where that symbol is. What we want to do is take that symbol, I can just pick it up with my mouse, and I can drag it over so it matches this little symbol, which is your right margin. And now all of those are going to be aligned in the right. Okay, let's put a space between the George Washington University and the high school. Okay, you don't need to say high school here. It's generic high school. We're just going to pretend that this is where you went. And I'm going to say MI because you went to generic high school in Anytown, Michigan. I'm going to take out that comma, and I'm going to instead put a tab there. Why didn't it do that? There. I don't know. It wanted to put that comma back in there. Okay, so now we have, maybe there's a space there. No, I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, because this is the AI is correcting me, and I don't want the AI to correct me. Um, that's what's wrong. So when it starts to do weird things like that, one of the things I like to do is click on this button right here. And what this button tells me is that there's a tab in the wrong place. This is the end of a paragraph, and I want the end of the paragraph right there. So I just have to move the end of the paragraph there. So you went to generic high school. Um, you got a high school diploma. And if you didn't, if you got the GED, you can say GED and put whatever year you got it. A lot of students I find at GW have gotten international baccalaureates. So if you got an international baccalaureate instead of high school diploma, say that you have an international baccalaureate. And then you want to put when you graduated. So for most of you, that's probably June 2025. Okay, so now we're down to experience. We have created a little structure here. So this is where you were or where you are, where it is, what you're doing when you do it, where you were, where it was, what you were doing when you do it. So you want to do the same thing here. So we want Chili's, which is the where you are in this case. And then I'm going to tab it, and I'm going to assume that you probably did the Chili's in your hometown of Anytown, Michigan. And then you were a server. We're going to take that off. We're going to put these dates on that line and just tab them. And so now they're on the right. And this is what you did. I'm going to do that with all three, and then I'm going to show you an unscheduled quick tip on what to do with this. So Old Navy, I'm going to assume was Anytown Retail Associate. Let's take this off, and let's take this off and tab it over. And we're going to do the same thing. So Camp Summer Fun goes up here. Let's say that was in National Park, Michigan. So maybe you worked in a park or something like that. And we're going to say that was those dates and do that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a quick way to make these bullet points really good. So this is basically just a very generic, these are kind of, I don't want to call them generic or throwaway jobs, but they're high school jobs that people do And you want to show that you've got really good skills. And what I'm looking at are down here. So you can see we have a skills section here. And the skills section says that you are a team player, a good communicator, a fast learner, that you know social media and leadership. Team player, good communication, fast learner, leadership. Those are skills that every employer wants to see. And the best way to show them that you have those skills is to show them where you develop them, not necessarily that you have them. This is basically just telling them. Instead, we want to show them. So in order to do that, I'm going to do this little trick. So I'm going to highlight these 4 bullet points and I'm going to copy them. And now I am going to open up my browser and open up a chat GPT conversation. Now I pay for chat GPT, so I have chat GPT 5, but this will work on any version. And you don't necessarily need to use chat GPT. You can use Perplexly, you can use Claude, you can use Copilot, you can use Gemini, any of those tools that you have. This is a good way to do it. So the thing I'm going to say is make these good bullet points that emphasize soft skills. Okay, so soft skills are those skills that every employer wants. So it's customer service, it's communication, it's fast learning, it's time management, it's leadership, it's team player. All of those are soft skills. And so we want to make these bullet points show that you have those soft skills. So I'm going to hold my shift key down, which gives me another line without sending it to the computer. And I'm going to paste those 4 bullet points that I copied from the resume. Now you'll see that it pastes this picture in there too. It does that from Word. I don't know why. I don't want it. I'm just going to click on that X so it goes away. So these are the 4 bullet points that I want to emphasize soft skills. So I'm going to send that to the computer now. And you can see that now these bullet points are a little bit more. So delivered attentive and friendly table service, building positive relationships with guests to create a welcoming dining experience. So you can see how much more impactful these are. Communicated, see there's your soft skill, clearly and efficiently with customers and team members. So this shows teamwork to ensure accurate orders and timely food delivery, maintained a clean, organized, and safe work environment, demonstrating reliability and attention to detail in a fast-paced setting. Now, this shows you a good layout for a bullet point. It starts with an action verb. It talks about what you did, and then it explains why that was important, why it mattered. Why it mattered is that you increased efficiency, you saved the company money, you organized things to make everything more efficient. This one, building positive relationships with guests, that makes them want to come back. So that's a good business practice. Same thing here. Communicated is your action verb. Clearly and efficiently with customers and team members. That's what you were doing. And then that ensured accurate orders and timely food delivery. That's why it mattered. Okay, so I can take these 3 bullet points and now I'm going to go back to the resume and I'm just going to paste them in. Now, this is one of those, why did Word do that? And you'll see that Word pastes it in a different font. If you notice, this font is Times New Roman, but the rest of our font is Arial. So what I want to do is highlight these, and I'm going to click on this that makes them a bullet, and then I'm going to change them to Arial. And the reason it does that is if you go to normal, you see this little thing here that says normal. If I click on, oh, it made it normal. If I click on normal, let's see, modify. Oh, normal is Arial. So I don't know why it pasted it in Times New Roman. Sometimes when normal says that it's a different font than you're using, it makes them weird. So this is Arial 11, which is fine. So I'm just going to make them bullets like that. Okay. So now you have some good bullet points there. Okay. So let's take these four. Now we're getting into the speed section. So all I have to do here is paste those 4 bullet points here, take out this. I don't need to give it a prompt because it's going to do the same thing it did with the last set. So there we go. Now, one of the things you want to do when you're doing this in ChatGPT is you want to make sure that you read them and ensure that that was actually something you did or that was actually the outcome that you were looking for. Because sometimes ChatGPT lies or it makes things up about you. So you really want to read them carefully and make sure they're accurate. One of the things I see ChatGPT doing, especially with interns, is if you were working on a project, it'll come back with a bullet point that said you spearheaded the uh, change is good project and something like that. And if all you did was assist, you don't want to have spearhead. So you want to make sure that you change that verb if you need to. Now, here's my first magic trick. These bullets now look different than these bullets, and I want these bullets to look like these bullets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight one of these bullets. It doesn't matter which one, just highlight one. And I want to make sure I get this little symbol at the end. And if you don't have this selected, then you see that there's just that extra space that symbol would be if I could see it, but I can't see it. So you want to make sure in this instance that you capture that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up to this little thing that looks like a paintbrush, and I'm going to click. And now I have a paintbrush on my cursor. So I'm going to take my cursor and I'm just going to paint these 3 lines. And now it put this little square in because it had an errant bullet point from ChatGPT. I'm just going to take the spaces and that weird bullet point out, but now you see it looks the same. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. I'm going to paste these in. I'm going to take that out. And then I'm going to just take these 3 bullet points. And on your resume, for stuff that's related to what you want to do, you want to have 3 to 5 bullet points that show that you have the skills that the employer is looking for in the job announcement. So now I'm going to highlight one of these, take this, do this, and now it looks right. And we're going to just take off that weird stuff that it pasted in that we don't need. Okay. So now we've got the experience done. So let's go down here to skills. And one of the things I notice about skills is this thing right here. This thing right here says that this is in a table. And you can see if I click on that little symbol, that's a table. You don't want to use tables in your resume. Some applicant tracking systems cannot read them. There are some older, uh, uh, especially in Google Docs, but some Word templates, the whole resume design, the resume template is a table. You don't want to use tables. But Word, not Google Docs, but Word gives you an awesome tool to fix this. So I am just going to click on this little symbol here so that I can see the table and see it highlights everything that's in the table. And when I highlight that, I get these two new menu items up here, and they're blue, so I can see that they're specific to tables. And I'm going to click on table layout. And way over here on the right, and sometimes if your if your thing is smaller, it might just be a little symbol, but that's the symbol right there. I am going to click on convert text to table, and I'm going to have it do paragraph marks, and I'm going to have it do nested tables. So that is, I mean, I can do tabs if I know what I'm doing, but I would say just do that. And I'm going to say okay. And now it took all those skills out, and then it put them in this and I want to, let's see, I'm going to copy. And sometimes if you copy the last or the first letter, it copies the whole thing. So I'm actually not going to copy leadership because I don't need it. So I'm going to X out of that. And then I'm going to just delete that. And I'm going to paste those skills back in here. So there, now the skills are there. So this is my um, oh, we did education, we didn't do experience. So let's do that in uppercase. We want skills to be in uppercase and we want activities to be in uppercase. So let's do that. Okay, so now we have this thing. What we don't want, well, we can do this. So let's take these out of the tabs and you see that they're not all the way over on the left. So I'm going to highlight them and move them over here. And I want that to be right there. So what we're going to do first is we're going to say technical. Um, Now, if you know languages, and let's pretend that John here, I think this is John Smith. Yeah, John here has some language skills. So we're going to put languages first. And John learned how to speak English in his home. And so he was a native speaker. Maybe his mother was French and she spoke French to him when he was a child, so that would make him native in French. And then maybe he took Spanish for 4 years in high school, so he's probably conversational in Spanish. So you want to have your languages in here like this. Characterize them. Maybe I need to spell conversational right. Yeah, I do. Um, but you notice that native and conversational are not capital nouns. Do not make them uppercase. You want English uppercase, French uppercase, and Spanish uppercase because those are proper nouns. But these are not proper nouns, so leave them. Now, French, you're native in a language if you learned it before you were 5 or 6, because that's how your brain handles languages. It basically closes those pathways around age 5 or 6. So if you learn it before you're that age, you're basically native in a language. Okay, so technical skills are things like Microsoft. Okay, and so we're going to put Microsoft, but instead of that, we're going to put Microsoft Office because most of the time when you know these, you know Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Now, the reason I do this is because the first time when your resume is scanned, the um, the applicant tracking system is looking for the words in the job description. So if you see qualifications, requirements, something like that, it is looking for those specific words in your resume. Um, Computers are actually very stupid. They only know what to look for by what they're programmed to look for. And if the applicant tracking system says, find the words in this job description, those are the words it's going to look for. Now, some people will say that you need to know Microsoft Office. Some people might say that you need to know Microsoft Word. If you know Microsoft Office and you know all three of those, then you have all three of them. If you just say Microsoft Word and it's looking for Microsoft Office, it's not going to pick up that. You're not going to get the points for having those. Okay, so most students also have pretty good Google Suite skills, and that would be docs, sheets, and slides. And then a lot of students also know Canva. If you know other programs like HTML or Java or any of those are, and any programming skills, you can put those in here too. And then we're going to have another line for soft skills. This is optional, but I'm going to put them in here anyway. So team player, good communicator. We don't need Microsoft Word because we've already got that. Fast learner. And then I'm going to put social media as its own. So if you're applying for something, now this, you don't want to put this on unless you're applying for something where they specifically ask for social media, but then you want to have your social media skills on there. Instagram, Snapchat, I think that's just Snapchat, maybe TikTok. And if you have other ones, you can do that, but those are the main ones. Okay, and then we have activities. Now, I usually put activities as part of this. If I do, well, no, I would say instead of activities, you want interests. Interest. And what you want to put here, this is an optional thing. If it doesn't fit on your resume, take it out. But interest might be, this looks like you want to do, yeah, writing, fiction, maybe snowboarding, maybe I like to find the really weird ones because what this does is it gives someone who's interviewing a point of reference to start a conversation. So maybe, like I do this all the time when I'm working with students, if they have something in their interest and I share that interest, like my particular interest might be knitting, if you put knitting in there, that's something that, we can start a conversation about. Oh, what's on your knitting needles today? Something like that. And you could maybe, if you want to connect, and you're a football fan, you might say Commanders. Now you notice that Commanders is a proper noun, but snowboarding and writing fiction are not proper nouns. And it's the same thing with this. These are not proper nouns. So you want to go here and make them all lowercase. Okay, so we're going to take these activities off. Now you see that we still have a second page, right? Why do we still have a second page? Well, if I click on this, you see all these returns? We want to get rid of all of those because we don't want them on, we don't want that second page. And now you can see it just has one page. And we don't need this. We're going to take this off because now the next thing I'm going to show you is how to play around with this. So I'm going to take these off. Now, I am going to put a line under here. And the way I'm going to put a line under here is this tool right here. And you'll see that right now, all of the lines in this square are dotted except that the line underneath is solid. And that means the default border here is a bottom border. You can also just make sure you click on this, you can click on this little caret here and type bottom border. And when I do that, you'll see it automatically puts a line on there. Okay, that looks great. Now we're going to add some space. You remember I took off space at the beginning. Now I'm going to add the space back in around here. And I'm going to look and see how much space I have here. I actually want to put a space there and a space there. Now I'm going to hide, and this is where my experience comes in. So I'm going to click on the word education, and you see I've selected this little thing at the end, and I'm going to click on this thing right here that says line and paragraph spacing, and I'm going to go to line spacing options. Okay, we're going to, right now there's 0 and 0. This font is 13. Okay. If you hit return, you're going to get about 15 points of space in there. And that's because there's space in between the lines. So the actual height of the letters in the word education are 13 points. A point is 1/72nd of an inch. That is something that is virtually impossible for you to kind of figure out. So what I'm going to tell you is you want to think in proportions. So I am going to put 18 points of space above. When you click on these little carrots here, it does 6-point increments, but you can actually type any number you want in there. But I'm going to do 18, and then I'm going to do 6 points after. So that means before the word education, we're going to put about a line and line and a half, maybe a line and a third. But afterwards, we're going to put about a half a line. And I'm going to click OK. And there is my 18 points, and there's my 6 points. And it gives me some nice space between the line and the words George Washington. Okay, I like the way that looks. So this time I'm going to double click on that. And now I have this little paintbrush. So I'm going to paint the word experience. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to paint the word skills. And you see how it just automatically took what I did here and it copied it there. But now I still have that little paintbrush because when you double click, when you're done, you have to turn it off by clicking it again. Okay, we're almost done here. I want this to be bold. Again, you have 8 seconds to capture their attention. So you want to bold the things you really want them to see. So I would bold this. And then without selecting the little thing at the end, I can double click on that paintbrush. And now I have my paintbrush and I can paint all of the where you were. I'm going to paint where you were here. I'm going to paint where you were here. And then I'm also going to paint all of these little things here. I don't want to make the whole thing bold, but I just want to have my little categories bold. And there we go. And then I'm going to unclick that. And then I'm going to click on this. I want this to stand out, but I want it to stand out differently than this stands out. So I'm going to make it bold and italic. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click and I'm going to paint high school diploma. I'm going to paint server and let's get that S in there. I'm going to paint retail associate and camp counselor. And there we go. I'm going to turn off the hidden characters, and that's what a resume should look like. So now I'm going to save it. And that is basically what to do. Now, the one thing I'm going to show you, this is kind of a weird secret, but I'm going to show you this one. So you see how there's just one line here, one word on the line. If you're really trying to get this to fit, you might want this to be one line. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, one of the things to notice when I have this line highlighted, this is where the bullet is, that little thing right there, and this is where it returns to. So one of the things you can do is you can pick up this little thing and move the bullet in. So you see I've moved the bullet in a little bit, and then I can pick up the bottom and I can move it out. Okay, that still didn't make this one line. But the next step is gonna make it one line. What I wanna do before I do that though, is I wanna highlight this line, double click, and then go up and hit all my bullets so that all of my bullets are the same. Because you want to make sure all your bullets are the same. And I just did something, I think I accidentally turned off my thing. So let's do, oh, come on. There we go. Double click and make these bullets. There we go. And I'm going to unclick. And you see, we made these all fit on one line. Now, what we can do with this one, and this is one you only want to use if you are really needing to fit it, but you can go into the format menu and format font. when you format font, you get this, and this is what it'll look like when you first click on it. What I'm going to do is the advanced. And right here we have character spacing, okay? I am going to condense the spacing, and this is what it will look like when you do it. And it automatically gives you 1 point. You don't want anywhere close to 1 point. You want to start with 0.1 point. And let's do that and see what that did. Now, most people are not going to be able to see that you did that, but you see how now that fits on one line. That's really, really important that you only do 0.1 or 0.2. If it doesn't fit after 0.2, give up. Just give up. Because that's also going to slow your reader down. But that's a way to help fit things on one line. Okay, I'm going to save this. And then that's basically it. I'm not going to make anything over here bold. I don't want people to look at that more or less. But this is a good way to get started. So I am going to now open it up. If you have any questions, you can either type them in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. Any questions? Okay, I'm not hearing any questions. So now I am going back to my presentation. And the next thing that's the check-in. Okay, so now what I have, this is our evaluation form. We like to know if this was helpful to you, so we know whether to give it to other students in the in the future. So you can just click on this. It'll give you the little form. There's a couple questions there, and you can answer that. And then that's all I've got. I will send you the document that we started with. I will send you the finished document. I will send you a link to the chat GPT conversation so you can revisit that. And I will send you the link to the video. The video will not come out probably until tomorrow. So all of that will reach you tomorrow. Okay. Any last minute questions?
Hi. So
Yes.
when you look at like some of the resume options on Word, a lot of them include color and pictures. Would you recommend the ones with color or would you steer away from them?
You absolutely do not want to have a picture on your resume. Starting about 2020, the summer of 2020, this is not a COVID thing. This is a George Floyd thing. But a lot of companies stopped accepting resumes that have pictures on them. Now, that is just true in the United States. In some countries, you must include a picture on your resume. But in the United States, you don't want to include a picture on your resume. You generally don't want to use color. Um, it's okay if you use a darker color that's different than black on your headers and footers or headers, the education, experience, skills on those things. But generally, it doesn't matter. 10 years ago, I told you you needed one of those pretty resumes with two columns where, your contact information was on one side and then all your experience was on the other. But now so many employers are using applicant tracking systems that you need a resume that can be read by an applicant tracking system, and they are stupid. So you need to make it dumb so that the computer can read it. Probably in 5 years, we'll go back to the pretty resumes because we will have trained the applicant tracking systems to read them again. But that's a good question. Don't use a template. If you need a template, you can go, I will show you where my template is. If you go to Word, let me go to, so it looks like you. If you go to Handshake, you can go to the Career Center and then Resources. And then let's see, where is, okay, I'm going to have to search here for resume. And what you're looking for is, oh, why doesn't it come up first? I think it's because it's me. Let's do all results. Um, poop. Anyway, if you search for resume, there's one here that has a, let's do general resume. Anyway, it has one of these, but it looks different. It looks more like this one. And it's not finding me because I'm listed as a grad student, so it's bringing in grad student stuff for me. But the global job and interview, you see how this looks? It says resumes. Click on that, and there's a download for you to download our resume template, which has a bunch of gray boxes. You just type your information in the gray box. So it says first name, you just click on that box and you type in, I don't remember who answered this question, Amari, Wendy. You just type your name in there, and then it says last name, type in there, click in there, type in your last name. It'll be really quick when you do it. There's a little cheat sheet that kind of explains how it works, but it's a real simple resume. It works great on Word, and it'll just do everything. It's already got the right tab stop set up for you. It's got the line set up for you. It's got the section set up for you, so you can just fill it out. So it's in Career Center, Resources, and then do a search for resume guide. That will walk you through that. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for coming today.